Howdy, howdy. This is Mr. Elmhorst with the math lesson on slope, and we're going to be looking at positive, negative slope, and zero, and then also undefined. So we have four different types of possible slope when we're looking at linear relationships, basically graphing equations on a line. So the first one we're going to be looking at positive. So it's going to be increasing from left to right, and it's going to look like you're going uphill. So if you open your foldable, it's going to be in the top left. And looking at the y-intercept, the y-intercept is always going to be when x is 0, what is the y line? So let's just add a note in here, when x is 0. So when x is 0, that is our starting point on the graph. So the origin, if the x and y were both 0, then we would start right here in the middle, but x is 0, and then it drops down 2, so the y-intercept is going to be -2. Now, graphing another point, we can see what's going on with the table here. We have x is -2, x is -2, and then y is going to be going down. X is -2, y is -3. And then we have x is 2. So we're going to move over. Starting at 0, we're going to go 1, 2. And then y is -1. You're just going to go down 1. Then we put a solid circle there. Now we can see the lines, or the dots line up. And if we go from point to point, we're looking for the change. How is y changing compared to how is x changing? So the change in y from -3 to -2 is going up 1. From -2 to -1, it's going up 1. And then from -2 to 2, it's going up 2. And from 0 to 2, it is going to go up 2. So we're going to look at this fraction ratio relationship between change in y over change in x. So we got change in y is going to be 1. Change in x is going to be 2. So the rise of the line is going up 1 over 2. So if we put that into slope-intercept form, we put the coefficient, the slope of the line right here with x, and then the starting point when x is 0, y is -2, we put the constant being added after we put the multiplication of x. So that is m, and this other one is b. All right, so now we can close that side, and we're going to go to the other side of the foldable. Now these negative slopes are going to look like they're going downhill from left to right. So starting from the origin, we take a look at where this line is starting out at. So when x is 0, y is 1. X is 0, y is 1. And that is our y-intercept. So let's put the symbol in there, +1. Now, in order to calculate the slope, we're looking for the change in y and then make a fraction out of the change in x. So from 3 to 1, it's going to go down 2. And from 1 to -1, it's going to go down 2. From -1 to 0, it goes up 1. And from 0 to 1, it goes up 1. So we have the change in y and the change in x. So -2 over 1. Rise over run is going to be the slope, and that's represented by the symbol or letter m. And -2 over 1 is just going to be -2. Now we just put those together. We have y equals -2x, and then the line starts out at 1. Okay, so we have positive, negative slope. Now we're going to go back to the other side, and we're going to look at when we have no slope, or we have 0. So when we have the change in y being 0, it doesn't matter what the change in x is going to be. If the change in y is 0, then the slope m is equal to 0. Let's see, y-intercept is just going to be b, and that's equal to 2. When x equals 0, y is 2. So this is saying y is 2. So we have 0, 2, -1, 2, +1, 2. So all these points within the line. So if this is laying flat, then we're going to call this 0 slope. And then the last one is not going to be 0. It's going to be undefined. So when y is changing, but x is not changing, when x is 0, y-intercept if you don't have a y-intercept, then this problem is going to be undefined for x and y. So this is x is 2. This would be straight up and down. We have 1 over 0, and you cannot divide anything by 0. The change in y over the change in x. So there is no y equals anything because x is just 2. All right, go ahead and glue that into your folder, or glue it into your math journal. Go front to back or side to side. Don't skip a page.